Helo a croeso cynnes i chi gyd I ddigwyddiad Menter Moch Cymru ar y cyd gyda cyswllt ffermio fel rhan o wyl tyddyn a chefn gwlad y sioe frenhinol. Warm welcome to you all to Menter Moch Cymru and Farming Connect joint event as part of the Welsh Smallholding and Countryside Festival. I would also like to welcome Cennydd Naomi. Thank you for joining us to share your journey into pig keeping. A little bit about Menter Moch Cymru. We have a range of different resources available for you. We have events and webinars, but in the last year we have run our meetings and events virtually. The recordings are available on our resource hub under webinars and videos, so head over to our resource hub for a wide range of different publications, from technical article to fact sheets. We also have herd health planning support. Eligible farmers can apply to receive 80% of the cost of the veterinary health plan in the first year, with continued financial assistance for its review in the second and third year too, which will improve the herd health, disease control and pig welfare. So contact us for any more information. We also provide free signs for pig keepers in Wales, which you can put on farm gates to say, please do not feed the pigs if you have public footpaths going through your land. We also provide bespoke marketing support. We offer up to 750 grants support available. This is for a range of marketing and promotional support, and eligible businesses can work with an approved design company. The funding also covers print and production costs of the materials. Menter Moch Cymru have also a series of bite-sized training videos for pig keepers in Wales. These are on our resource hub or on our social media, and they cover a range of different topics from identification to biosecurity and health. More will be launched over the coming months. Not all are available at the moment, but keep an eye out on our social media for more information. Felly, diolch fawr iawn. Dyma fwy o bobeth amdano ni. Here's more information if you'd like to contact us. Without any further ado, I will hand you over to Cennydd and Naomi. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much.
Iawn, de, shwmai. Gobeithio bod chi gyd yn gallu gweld yn sgrin ni. We hope you can see our screen. Wel, I ddechrau, diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you for the opportunity and for the invite. Ni'n mynd I barhau yn Saesneg. We'll keep presenting in English, but thank you so much. Our aim today is to share with you during this webinar our journey into pig keeping and what we've learnt along the way. We are only starting off and we've got plenty to learn again, but maybe we'd just like to share some things with you that might be helpful, things we've learnt and feel that we'd like to share with you.
So yeah, my name is Cennydd Jones, in the picture on the left there. I'm the one in the blue overalls, in case you're wondering. And I'm a full-time PhD student at the moment at Aberystwyth University. Before that, I did do my degree in Aberystwyth as well in agriculture. However, I had no background in pigs whatsoever, and so went into it a bit naive, if anything, when I applied for the initial Menter Moch Cymru YFC pig rearing scheme in 2017, and I was one of the successful applicants. And yeah, I decided to go down the pig keeping route after that.
I'm Naomi Nicholas. I had kept some Tamworth pigs before, but I also started out through the Menter Moch and Cyffi Cymru scheme. I'm a teacher, a Welsh teacher from day to day, which is quite helpful with the marketing, and it also helps with chats with children about the pigs, although I'm not sure they call me Miss Piggy yet, but not to my face anyway. So yes, this is just us with some of our pigs outdoors, opposite where we live on the bungalow, on the farm in Pontchan, which is in Ceredigion.
So going back to when we started keeping pigs then, on the YFC Menter Moch scheme, we were given the freedom to choose whichever breed of pig that we wanted. I went with the Welsh pig, mainly because that was the breed I was most familiar with. I wasn't really familiar with any sort of breed of pig, really. I have been working in the pig ring in the Royal Welsh since about 7 or 8 years now. So I had seen a wide variety of pig breeds. However, it does tend to be that it's the Welsh pig that's at its strongest in terms of numbers in the Royal Welsh, and also in young farmers clubs competitions on stock judging and so on. More often than not, it would be the Welsh pig that we'd be judging. And in terms of pig breeders that I knew locally, they kept Welsh pigs as well. So I went down the Welsh pig route. I'm a dairy farmer son as well, so we had a few outbuildings that were going spare over the summer months when the competition was running. So I decided to go down the indoor high input, high output system, if you like. From what we'd learned at Aberystwyth during some of our livestock science modules, we'd learned that pigs are very efficient animals. They're monogastrics, they've only got one stomach in comparison with cows and sheep that have got 4. And so they can make the most out of high protein and high protein cereals, and they can be very effective in converting feed into weight gain, i.e. into pork at the end of it. So yeah, I went down that high protein diet. They were getting in excess of 20% crude protein in their diet with us. And they were growing really well. And one of the things that really impressed me during this period was, although the Welsh breed is an indigenous breed to us here in Wales, it is deemed as a modern pig breed, and it performed really well under these conditions. During this competition, I was benchmarking my pigs as well. I was weighing them every 3 weeks or so, and they were performing in excess of the benchmark figures from AHDB Pork and Menter Moch Cymru. So they did do very well in this intensive system. They had high growth rates, and the problem that I had during that point was that they were ready too soon with me. They were meant to be ready for the winter fair in a carcass competition, but I think 3 of my pigs went off as large porkers then in September, so they were ready far too early with me. But yeah, a big fan of the Welsh pig breed.
I went in a little naively, despite keeping Tamworth before. I came into it maybe from the smallholder sort of direction. I was lucky maybe that it was the first year. There weren't many applicants, I don't think. So I would never have won the 5 winners, I don't think. I wouldn't win them now. But I've learned so much. Of course, looking back, I don't say I'd have chosen large blacks for a carcass competition. But, you know, there is a market for large blacks, and we've met so many people who are really successful with tapping into that sort of heritage, traditional breed, reared outside sort of market. So it's not to say that it shouldn't be done at all, because lots of people do it very successfully. And if I'd had my way, maybe we would have. But my large blacks, they lived outside in an ark on our small holding in Shibemfro in Pembrokeshire. They lived in like a woodland area, and the main aim really, I was lucky that Dad was on board, and the main aim was to use the pigs to clear some land, waste land with lots of bracken, and they did a fantastic job. Large blacks are very placid, very lovely pigs. They're very, very rare, very hard to come across. So placid, you know, that's all you needed was a 3-string of electric fence and a battery, and we sort of sectioned the area off into 4 segments for them, and they sort of rotated then as they grew, and they had more and more land to clear, and they were a dream, to be honest, to keep. They had some cheese with me. I supplemented their diet with cheese. It was an extensive system. Obviously, they were slower growing. One of the perks of keeping them outside and them being dark-skinned, black-skinned pigs was obviously they didn't burn, which was fantastic. That's maybe one of the problems we'll talk about later on with the Welsh pigs outside. But then the downside to that is traditionally, obviously, a butcher wants a white skin, pink skin sort of for bacon and for meat, you know. just what people I expect, isn't it? So some were put off with obviously the darkness of the skin, but I really loved my large blacks. I grew very fond of them, maybe too fond, but I didn't get my own way because in the end we went for our system today. I'd like to add there as well, Cennydd talked about the scales. Obviously, I was in a small holding. I didn't have any access to a farm or farm vehicles. I didn't have scales, but you can do this with help. You know, I used to measure mine and weigh mine with like a formula using a piece of string. It worked fine. I wasn't as obviously sharp. I think I was laughed at the competition, but it did work. That's what I'm trying to say is, if you were ever thinking of keeping pigs, if you were thinking, if you're a YFCer and are thinking of applying, don't be put off by the fact, you know, that you haven't got a delight in keeping, you know, a hybrid pig or whatever. You know, it's a fantastic experience, and there is a market for a traditional heritage breed being bred outside.
There is a pig system to suit everybody. One of the first things that we did when we were part of the cohort that we went up to Hap Radhams, and the system that we saw there was a very highly intensive system, very much driven by all sorts of figures and data and daily live weight gains and efficiency of feed conversion and so on. So you've got one polar end there, but also you have got the opportunity to read traditional breeds, and you can add value onto that product at a far better rate than what you would do with the hybrid breeds. You're talking about hybrid breeds, they'd be going for supermarket contracts in any way, and you'd probably be getting £1.80 a kilogram or so on. If you've got a heritage breed, a traditional breed, and you tap into the correct market, especially in cities, London, Birmingham, so on, you can be getting paid a lot more than that for your pork. So it's all about finding the correct system that suits yourself, and also the assets that you have available to you to rear the pigs.
It's horses for courses. So this is what we've got. Oh, well, actually, these are our pigs. So they're Cennydd's 5 little Welsh winners, and then my 5 outdoors. I think, you know, you can see there, I think mine were much older than yours coming, weren't they? I think so. You know, they were much slower growing.
But what we did have to do then, when we decided to keep pigs together, when we moved in together to the bungalow that we can see here from the aerial photo here, we had to compromise. So in fairness, Naomi gave way of the large black breed, and we went down the Welsh pig. Both of us are very proud Welsh people, and we're very proud to be able to rear the Welsh indigenous breed. At the end of the day, we must remember, despite its relative popularity, if you compare them with other native breeds, in the UK, the Welsh pig is still an endangered breed, and therefore, by rearing an endangered breed and listing them as pedigree as well, you're doing a contribution culturally as well. And most of the traditional breeds, the native breeds to the UK, are on the endangered list, sadly, be it the large black especially, but also the Tamworth, Saddleback, Berkshires, etc. Most of these would be pigs that are on the endangered list. So Naomi made the compromise of moving towards the breed on her behalf, and then I compromised and moved to keeping pigs outdoors. So keeping pigs outdoors, it's got its pros, it's got its cons. The major pros, as far as I'm concerned, is that the pigs are noticeably happier, I'd say. They run around more, they've got greater freedom to express natural behaviour. It's easier to manage them as well if you've got the correct fencing and stuff in place, because you don't have to muck them out constantly. And the disadvantage is probably then is you're more open to bad weather. And that's something that during the winter months, because of the high rainfall where we live, we do bring them inside. And also, if you haven't got good enough infrastructure to keep them in that area, then they will escape. But by now, we keep them outside here. You can see on the aerial photo there, we've got 3 pens that we've got next to the bungalow there, and we move them, we rotate them in a system there before they go off to slaughter.
So we want to talk to you about 2 aspects maybe of ourselves and our pig keeping journey today. So obviously, firstly, our pigs. This is our lovely Maud and her piglets that came. And then the second aspect then, of course, is Trad Moch, our pork and bacon box business. So our pigs, at the moment, we've got 4 sows, gilts. Maud is a sow, Mary is our little gilt. She's been in with Victor, the boar, recently, so hopefully we can call her a sow next year. Matilda then is also a sow, and Mavanwy. And all of our sows, they do farrow inside, just because we feel, as sort of inexperienced pig keepers, we feel we can monitor them maybe better inside on the farmyard. Again, obviously we're open to the elements. Of course, we know lots of people who manage to farrow perfectly well outside in arcs. So, you know, there is a way of doing that as well. We've just opted for this way, just because we feel we need to find our feet to begin with. We've just invested in Victor, our boar. We're really lucky. He's a lovely boar. He has been shown with his previous owners, so he's of lovely nature. Boars can show aggressive behaviour, but Victor is pretty cool. We're not scared of Victor yet, are we?
No.
Of course, you can opt for AI. We've tried that, but we just found, for us, obviously, as we touched on at the beginning, Trad Moch and the pigs, it's a hobby, a sideline. We're in work all day, every day. And unfortunately, maybe we can't, you know, obviously we look after the pigs, but we can't be watching them all day. And obviously nothing catches a sow better than a boar. The boar knows, nature knows best. So we've opted for keeping a boar. But obviously there are downsides to that as well.
Yeah, so if you are thinking of keeping pigs, naturally probably the easiest way is to get a boar to make sure that you catch the sows and the gilts when they're most fertile. However, you have got numerous advantages of AI as well. Mainly you're able to bring in better genetics into your pig herd. Biosecurity is better. We know we've had to buy in Victor from another herd, which isn't brilliant for our biosecurity, but it's something that we had to do. And also, let's not forget that the biggest cost for our pig rearing business is feed. And a boar is big, and sadly, the amount of feed that an animal eats is correlated with their size. So a boar does eat a lot of food. So those are the advantages of AI. If you can get yourself onto a course, I know Menter Moch have been running some of these courses in previous years. They've been hugely popular, and I can't blame them really, because if you can AI a pig or a gilt, then you are saving probably a lot of money and gaining on the genetic side as well. So why did we choose the Welsh pig? Well, I think we've touched a lot on this. So we're both proud Welsh people more than anything. We wanted the indigenous breed. But also, as I mentioned earlier, there's a pig to suit every system. If you're going to go down the route of keeping your pigs indoors all year round and feeding them a high protein diet, you'll probably be better off going for a very modern breed, maybe going for a Pietrine or a crossbred, a hybrid pig, as most modern commercial units would have. These pigs are bred for feed efficiency. They're bred to be able to convert grain and soya and a high protein grain into pork, and they do a tremendous job of doing so. And as far as animals go, they're one of the most efficient animals when it comes to that. If you're going to be keeping your pigs outside and you're going to be feeding them low quality feed, by low quality I mean low in protein, then yeah, you're probably going to be better off with a traditional breed. If you're going to be keeping them outdoors all year round, probably you're going to end up with a large black or a saddleback or a more traditional Tamworth, something like that. But we've gone down the middle of the road, if you like. So we've got the traits of a modern breed, of having that good growth rate and the good feed conversion efficiencies, but also having the traditional touches as well of being able to be outside. And also the meat eating quality of the Welsh pig. It's something that we'll discuss later on, but there's a noticeable difference in the pork from a Welsh pig. And what do they eat with us? Well, it's only fair that we feel, as our diets are varied, it's only fair that our pigs' diets are varied as well. So I did mention that the first batch that I had, they were on a very high protein diet. The ones that we have now, they're on a slightly lower protein diet. They are grown at a slower rate, just because it adds to the flavour and the tenderness, the juiciness of the pork that we sell at the end of the day. At the moment, they're fed a blend with us. we did that to save money more than anything, because a blend is usually cheaper than a nut. However, because one thing that we found, particularly over the past few days in windy weather, a lot of the blend does finish up on the floor. And as Naomi told me recently, we've got very well fleshed birds around Pontchan because of all the excess feed that they're picking up. So it's important, because feed is the most expensive input that we have as part of the business, and we want the pigs to be eating the feed, not the animals. So we'll probably be changing back to a nut sooner rather than later. Of the feed that we give to the pigs as well, we use feed that's free from soya. Again, that's just part of the marketing that we use to sell our pork. We sell it as a local, sustainable pork produce. So we felt that it's only fair that the feed that we give to the pigs is also local and sustainable, i.e. we aren't importing soya from South America. We also save a bit on money as well, because soya is so expensive, especially over 2021. So that's something that we've tend to save on money there. One of the things that we do feed to our pigs as well, during when it's available, then we get cheese, waste cheese from a local cheese factory. Ironically, that's where we sell our milk from the cows too. Some of Naomi's friends, then we get apples from their orchards when they're in season, and also they get the first wash from the parlour as well, so sort of diluted milk.
And they've been winning over the lockdowns, or the impromptu lockdowns, because the pub at the end of the road as well, the landlady was bringing us barrels of beer down as well. So we had very happy pigs for a few days over the lockdown.
Yeah, but as it was mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, one thing that is important if you're going to keep pigs, we weren't aware of this before we started keeping pigs, but don't feed kitchen scraps to pigs. It's part of a nationwide biosecurity effort. It's one of the ways that if a disease called African swine fever, which is a major pig disease, it's causing local endemics in numerous countries, especially in Asia. So do have a Google of African swine fever, and that's one thing that we don't want to enter our national herd here in Wales or the UK. We've had one pandemic too much already, so we don't want another one.
So rearing pigs outdoors, as Cennydd said, we're strong believers in rearing the pigs outdoors. Obviously, we've got to sort of respond to the weather. We're obviously quite open here in Pontchan, as you can see at the top of the valley. We're also really lucky that obviously it is a farm. We have got some outbuildings that aren't in use. So, you know, when the weather does turn, the pigs can go in. And obviously, as we said, we farrow indoors. We've also decided to invest some money in sort of making things a little bit easier for us with the pigs indoors, which will hopefully lower our mortality rates with the piglets, and just also make life easier. And also that the pigs that are down on the farm, they get to be out as well as being indoors as well. So they get the outdoor life as well as being indoors. So that's something we're excited to share with everybody on our social media during the next few weeks and months. But yes, the pigs outdoors. Well, it's easier because obviously, as Cennydd touched on, they are very clean. They're clean anyway, but you don't have to muck out, obviously, when they're outdoors. We've got a few arcs. We sort of wanted to sort of recycle some arcs. So we've got oil tanks that we've halved, and one's on a sledge, and then the other one's just the other half, which is great for the smaller weaners. They like to find some shelter there. So that's a fantastic way, especially now with lots of redundant oil tanks coming in with the new legislations. And then Cennydd also made an arc with the sink, and that's also fantastic. Obviously, sows especially are very, very strong, and Maud and Mary would shake our arc just for a little itch, you know, on their bums. So everything's got to be pretty, it's got to be reinforced, and it's also got to be, our upkeep is quite often. We started off naively, as you can see in this picture, with just a nice 3-string electric fence with a nice solar panel, charging it with electricity. We very quickly decided we needed to invest in better fencing. It was a bit of a sort of bit of faith every night, just hope the pigs would come home for some food, hope they'd come in.
They were truly free range back then with us.
Truly free range. Again, wasn't fantastic because we aren't actually here all day, every day. So we decided then that we were going to fence properly. And since doing that, it's much easier, isn't it? Loading's easier. It's just much easier. And weaning, we weaned once outside, and weaning was a nightmare with the electric fencing. But now we can handle them much easier. Our facilities are much better for handling pigs. It's fantastic. They sort of graze alongside the milking herd as well for some weeks of the year, which is also lovely. We obviously have pink light coloured pigs, which isn't as lovely. Obviously it's pasture, not woodland, so they are quite open to the elements, that being rain, wind, sun, everything. So obviously they do tend to catch the sun, so we've got to be really careful with that during the hotter days. We obviously take them lots of water for wallowing, because of course pigs can't sweat. But pigs are also very intelligent. And as you can see here, with this little piggy, he is enjoying a bit of wallowing there. And they flood the trough themselves. You know, they're so intelligent. Yeah. They sort themselves out. They know exactly what to do, and they know exactly where to find the shade. So yeah, I think just getting the setup correctly, and obviously with time, we've sort of modified our setup for the pigs we've got. I don't know, I felt maybe with the large blacks, they were more docile. The eyes were covered with their ears. They tended not to sort of jump the fence and things. With the Welsh pigs, they go straight through.
And again, with rearing pigs outdoors, we've tend to go down the middle again. They aren't outdoors 24/7, 12 months a year. As we've already touched, they farrow indoors with us, and then once the piglets are weaned, then they go outdoors. And then during the winter months and the late autumn, when we get high rainfall, again, it's sort of balancing that sustainability. We could keep them out, but the amount of soil erosion we'd be seeing and the mess being created there would not be sustainable. So again, it's just something that you've got to take into account your location as well, when you take into account the type of system you're going to get when keeping pigs.
So that's one of our learning curves. I think it's the day that we try to wean the piglets outdoors. Was the day I thought I'd lose Cennydd, and we decided we need to do something about this. So that's one thing. The weaning from the ban is one of the things we've sort of changed. It's all been one big learning curve, and we're facing learning curves weekly, really. Probably if there's seasoned pig keepers watching us now, they must think, oh, idiots, what are they doing? But hopefully one day we will have mastered it, and we are open to learn, and we're always looking for new ways of learning. And we're so lucky in Wales with Menter Moch, with all the support that we've got. You know, it is really easy to learn. And little things like the other day, someone delivered some sows, and he just had some astroturf on the tailgate of the trailer. So simple, but it was crazy how the reflection and the noise of the tailgate. Obviously, trailers are designed for cows, for sheep, for what we've got, haven't they? You know, it spooks the pigs. So a little thing like that, just a bit of astro, has totally changed the way we do things. And also making life easier is so important. As you said, you know, it's a sideline. We want things to be as streamlined as possible. So things like, you know, we try and sort things out on a Sunday, ready for the week. So if we need to cart any water, cart any feed, we've got an IBC of water up in the field opposite our house. So that sorts them out. You know, we just need to bring the water up as and when then. So little things like that. The same with the indoor pig keeping as well. For the sows, just make things as easy as possible, just to make, you know, keeping the pigs as enjoyable as possible, you know. Yes. Well,
you touched earlier about the weaning the pigs. That's one of the major things that we've made life easier when weaning the pigs. When Naomi said she almost lost me, the reason she almost lost me was because we were weaning the pigs up in this pen that had 3 strands of electric fence. I'd just taken the last piglet away from the mother, which naturally was very protective, and she chased me around that field, and I had to, well, I regretted not putting my Strava on because I would have had a personal best over like 5 kilometers, I think. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we know a piglet's indoors now. We can do it far easier in terms of stressing. It's not as stressful for the sow herself. We also were able to tag, we're able to worm the piglets then in the quad trailer that we weaned them into down on the farm. And yeah, just making life easier like that. Loading pigs, that's something that we like to keep as stress-free as possible, because that is probably the most stressful time for our pigs at all during their entire life. And it's sad that it's at that last stage before they go to the abattoir. So we always try and well, Naomi does it much better than me in terms of getting the trailer up sooner, like a few days in advance, and try to feed them in the trailer. And that makes it easier than when getting them into the trailer itself. But yeah, we try to keep them as stress-free as possible, because a stressed pig results in a stressed pig keeper, and it's just a vicious circle, then it keeps getting worse and worse.
We've had lots of tears, mostly from me. So we try and keep tears to a minimum in Trad Moch.
So yeah, Trad Moch, the pigs themselves, then we do sell some of them as weaners, especially when the price of weaners is good, because it does help to pay some of the feed bill. I keep saying the feed bill, because that is the major expenditure of our business, really. We sell some direct to butchers as well, and that's something, if you supply a good quality product, butchers will come back and ask you if you've got more, and that's something that we've been fortunate to do. However, we do sell the majority through our Trad Moch pork boxes, and yeah, we'll talk more about the business now in the next few slides, but that's one of the things that's, especially during since the start of COVID, we are struggling now to keep up with demand at the moment. It was a bit tougher at the beginning. We would be trying to chase people, asking, having to advertise the pork a lot more. But certainly since the past 12-18 months, we haven't done a lot of advertising. We've had lots of returning customers and lots of new customers as well.
Just to touch on Trad Moch, so it's a Welsh idiom, and I think the easiest translation would be pig's ear. So we thought when we started out, if things did go a bit Trad Moch, if we made a pig's ear of it, it would be ironic. And we have made lots of Trad Mochs, lots of pig's ears along the way. Yes. Yeah, we're learning, as we said, with every step we take. So I'm not a social media guru at all, really not, but we're just watching really, because obviously what's really important to us is, we know where every pig has come from. We want to sell, the truth. Our pigs are raised inside, they're born inside, and then we rear them outside, and we want our pigs to have the best possible life. People in work were thinking of going down the vegan, the vegetarian route, because it's so, well, we're sold so many lies, aren't we, through these television programs, through social media. So for us, one of the incentives was, okay, if people need to eat less meat, let's make sure the meat that they eat is of the highest possible quality and standard, and that the welfare standards are high, and that we can sell that. And we honestly do whatever we can to make the pigs' lives as easy as possible. Like Cennydd was saying, the weaning, the loading to go to slaughter, try and keep it as low key as possible, so we really can give them the best possible lives. We're working towards getting our herds registered as pedigree as well, and then that'll be able to enable us to exactly know which piglet goes where, so we can trace it from the beginning to the end, so we know exactly where our meat has come from, what the pigs have been eating, and what vaccines they've been receiving. We'll know exactly, we can know if they've had antibiotics. We haven't had to use antibiotics very often, but try and keep that as low as possible, keep it that way. So we try and sell that story on our social media. We've also had snazzy new boxes, which we're quite excited about. Yeah. And then this is just an example of our pork boxes. So we offer a £30, a £60, and then a £120 box. So there's something there for everybody, really. Couples, families, and the pork is really delicious. We are working on, thanks to Cowine, a website that's being, well, we're hoping to build that before long, just to streamline our business really. We're also on Facebook, so give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook just for you to see. Another thing we're quite keen about, it's quite difficult really, conflicted, because obviously you want to show the pigs, but you also want to show pork is a very versatile meat. I think sometimes we were bad. We thought pork was just cynnar dy Sul, Sunday lunch. It's lovely, delicious. But we thought, it stopped there. Well, actually, unfortunately, I'm one of these people who was always on a diet, unfortunately for me. And I, chicken breasts. But actually, pork is just as lean. A loin of pork, a pork chop, just as lean, just as delicious, just as versatile. So, we like to share that as well. You can see there the sort of pulled pork. It was like a sort of hoisin pork rather than a hoisin duck wrap like you have in the Chinese. Delicious. And pork blasus, their Instagram is full of fantastic recipes. You also get recipe cards in your Trad Moch boxes. So it's fantastic to collaborate with people as well to get that story out about how fantastic Welsh pork is.
And that's a major part of our business, is that face-to-face interaction. It has been difficult over COVID because it's been with masks on and whatever when we have been delivering. But yeah, it's selling. When we take the pork box to the consumer, we can have a good chat and chew the fat, if you like, and talk about the various recipes, what's going on inside. One of my favorites was the pork cubano recipe that's from Wright's Food Emporium. So that's one of the, I just showed how diverse pork can be. But moving forward, I think we would like to expand to selling more boxes, maybe online. I know it could be argued that we're going against what we're trying to sell in terms of keeping food local and sustainable. However, let's not forget that if you live in the middle of Cardiff or the middle of London, you can't rear pork in those areas. So the next best thing would be to buy pork from a sustainable source. And we feel that we can contribute to that. And
that it's Welsh pork as well, which is really important. And we have dabbled with posting out, and it's been another learning curve. We like to use wool cool, which is quite a green way of insulating our boxes, because obviously it is wool. So we've been using that as an insulation. So we're hoping to sort of have another shot at that now and work with couriers on that. But I think selling to the doorstep is at the moment one of our passions. I think we really enjoy. We like a chat.
So yeah, the major point, I think, as we've pointed out really, is high quality pork, low food miles. That's the key selling point of Trad Moch. Notice that we do like to follow the pork.cymru by spelling pork. That's the Welsh way of spelling pork, but we feel that it does iterate well with non-Welsh speakers. We're a smaller herd in non-intensive conditions. That's a key point as well, driving through that high animal welfare point of view. And don't forget, if you do go and keep pigs, despite being a small herd, a pig, or a sow then I should say, is a very productive animal. She can easily have 2 litters per year, and a conservative estimate would be that you're rearing 10 weaners from that sow per litter. So even if you've got one sow, you're looking at producing easily 20 piglets per year. More than likely more than that even. So you've got that option. If you want to expand, then you can keep a few females back. Or if you want to make more money, then you've got the option of selling those through other outlets as well. They're reared for longer. They're on that low protein diet, which allows them longer to mature, to grow slowly. And that does make a difference for the meat eating quality. As a result, you have to command that bit extra price. You've got to command that premium then. But it's only fair really, because there is a noticeable difference, we feel. If we held a pork joint from Trad Moch next to a pork joint that you'd buy in the supermarket from imported Danish farms, there is a noticeable difference. That the Danish pork would be pale and white in colour, whereas this Trad Moch meat that we sell, it would be a rosier, almost red meat kind of look to it, than the more traditional what you'd see in your supermarkets.
and people, you know, the feedback we get, they're not all our friends, honest. They are really, really complimentary. They can't believe how delicious the pork is. You know, they go wild for it, you know, and it's fantastic. You won't get a tastier Cennydd Naomi in the dinner than the pork. It's delicious.
The sad thing from our point of view is because recently we've been selling out at most of the orders that we've been doing, and we haven't been able to keep a lot of the pork back for ourselves. So
we're on beef and chicken.
Yeah,
at the moment.
She's sad. There we go. So the future then, I think the major point of Trad Moch is the pigs themselves. That's the building block, the main building block for the herd really. But we want to improve our pig keeping. We want to become better pig keepers. We attend Menter Moch webinars to do this. If we get opportunities to go and visit other pig farms as well, we tend to take these opportunities up, and we like to talk to people about how we can learn from our mistakes more than anything. Despite being an extensive system, that still doesn't mean that we don't want to be technically astute when it comes to our pig rearing either. And I think specifically from my point of view anyway, I like to benchmark the pigs' performances. And there are numerous benchmark figures available to suit different systems. I know they're available on HDV pork, and I believe that Menter Moch have some figures as well. So yeah, we want to benchmark how much they're feeding, how much they're putting on in terms of daily live weight gain, how many piglets you're weaning per litre. It all shows if you can improve on these little things, then ultimately it can improve your margins, because at the end of the day, it's got to make money.
I give the holistic approach then. I look after the holistic side of things. And I must admit, give a plug to the Menter Moch handbook. It really is fantastic, you know, and the leaflets they hand out about, you know, how to look after, you know, the pig because of the pig's behaviour. You know, I'd never realised really how bad a pig's sight was, and how you know, how attracted they were to light. Little things like, if you understand the pig's behaviour, hopefully it should make pig keeping easier. So we're always open to learning about that as well.
And one of the things that we are looking to take part in is the Menter Moch initiative of having a pig herd health scheme. It can be a bit daunting, not coming from a pig background myself. When I heard all the different diseases that pigs could have, erysipelas, parvo, etc., I was a bit, you know, wasn't sure what we were getting into, but there's so many people out there who can help you, and they can point in the right directions. Most of these diseases can be prevented by just having good biosecurity. Most of them have got vaccines available against them as well. So there's nothing to be afraid of really. And fair play, Menter Moch are always there to give a good helping hand as well. We want to continue to sell pork of the highest standard direct to our consumers. We don't want to take a backward step in our pork quality. We're really happy with the product that we've got out of our pigs. Most of that is due to the indigenous Welsh breed, of course, and also the way that the methods that we raise them. So yeah, we want to improve our technical abilities, but not at the detriment of our end product.
And then obviously we want to grow our customer base and sell our story, continue to sell our story on social media. We are looking into, when obviously we're so lucky here in Pontcharn, we're really near the food centre in Horeb. We'd like to look into, you know, obviously we send the pigs to slaughter in Tregaron, and they're also butchered in Tregaron, so we're keeping it all in Ceredigion. But we'd like to have a go at processing ourselves. Obviously that depends on lots of things, you know, our livelihoods, work commitments, you know, but it's definitely something we're looking into, because that would be really, really exciting. But at the moment, you know, we just want to be giving high quality products out, and we're quite happy with how things are shaping at the moment. So I think we've got lots of diolch yn fawr to say, lots of thank yous. We were so lucky to begin with winning the winners between us, thanks to Cyffi Cymru, Wales YFC and Menter Moch. Well, that was massive. And not just the winners, but the expertise, the help and the network of support we've gained through being part of that initiative. I know the window is open at the moment, and I'd urge any YFC member who has an interest in raising pigs really to go for it. It's fantastic. Also, you know, keep an ear out for all the things that Menter Moch offer, because the webinars, the visits, the evenings, the groups, the discussion groups, we've learned so much, and we really are thankful for all the help. Cywain then have been fantastic with all the marketing and branding. We're so lucky of Cywain as well, been a massive help. And then of course, just the pig community in Wales, and we're so lucky. When you go to the show, when you pick something up from someone, when you're buying pigs, they're all so ready to help, and you learn that it hasn't been a smooth journey for anybody, and everybody's got fantastic stories to share with you, and they're so willing to help. And I hope one day that we'll be able to be in a situation where we can share our stories and help others, because we've been so lucky, and we feel really, really lucky to be part of the pig community in Wales. We're only starting out, and as I said earlier, people must think, oh, what on earth are these people doing? But we really enjoy it, and we hope we've been as truthful as we could be this evening with you. Yes, thank you very much. And if there's anything we can help anybody with, please get in touch. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, and get in touch if there's anything we can help anybody with, because we are really thankful. A diolch eto am y cyfle. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. As Naomi said, if anybody wants to collaborate or get in touch, feel free to do so. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Naomi a Cennydd, briliant, gret clywed am eich hanes chi. Thank you very much, Naomi and Cennydd. Excellent presentation, and yeah, nice to hear your journey and how well you are doing with the pigs. So, diolch yn fawr iawn I chi, diolch yn fawr iawn a pob lwc i'r dyfodol. Rwan, swn i'n hoffi mynd â chi draw at Dafydd Owen, cyswllt ffermio, I sôn ychydig am beth sgynnon nhw ar gael I chi. A little bit about from Dafydd Owen from Farming Connect about services they have available. Diolch, Dafydd.
Okay, so diolch yn fawr for Naomi a Cennydd. Thank you very much, Naomi and Cennydd. Diddorol iawn gweld pa mor bell ydych chi wedi dod mewn cynllunio'r amser. Yeah, very interesting to hear your system, and nice to hear how far you've come in a short period of time. So yeah, congratulations on that. Yeah, so I'd like to just quickly draw your attention to some of the relevant services that Farming Connect have on offer now. So I'll just share my screen, and hopefully you can all see that. Okay, so I'll just okay, so first of all, we've got the 100% digital surgeries available, and these can be an hour of one-to-one advice with experienced consultants on a variety of different topics. They're carried out over Zoom or over the phone, and they can be carried out within hours of your initial inquiry. We've also got the animal health clinics available. So there's £250 available for sampling or testing. All businesses need to be registered with Farming Connect and must confirm their interest before any testing or sampling takes place. And then when the application is approved, funding is allocated on a first-come, first-served basis and must be done within 30 days of when the application is approved. And it's a maximum of one clinic per registered business. We also have the advisory service available, where we offer fully funded group advice or 80% funded one-to-one advice, both up to a maximum of €1,500. So if you're looking for advice with regards to nutrition, animal health, business planning, or just general advice on your infrastructure, please get in touch, and I'm sure there's a relevant topic for you in the advisory service. The skills application window has opened again on the 3rd of May and is open until the 25th of June. There's over 70 different courses available, and all courses are subsidised by Farming Connect by up to 80%. And yeah, we also have the mentoring service available, where you can access up to 15 hours of fully funded advice from experienced farmers And as you can see on the screen, we've got a couple specifying in the pig sector. So yeah, for any information, please get in touch. And yeah, as you all know by now, we've got a pretty busy schedule of webinars in place. So for more information on the webinars, please either contact myself or yeah, visit the website where you can book onto upcoming webinars or look back on previous webinars. Okay, yeah, so for more information, please contact your local development officer. There's 18 development officers across Wales, and they're your first point of contact with Farming Connect. You can either contact myself, or you can contact either the service centre on 08456 000 813, or you can visit the website. Okay, so then all that's going to be. If anyone has any questions, yeah, as I said, feel free to contact myself or Eileen, and yeah, we'll help point you in the right direction. So, diolch yn fawr Eileen, and I'll stop sharing my screen now. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr iawn I Cennydd Naomi ac I Dafydd Owen. Gobeithio bod chi wedi mwynhau y session. Hope you all enjoyed the session, and please feel free to contact us anytime if you have any questions regarding any of the services tonight. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Diolch I chi.
Okay, diolch yn fawr.